The private's code. In the heart of a dense, humid jungle, where the air smelled of gunpowder and rain, a young soldier named Private Daniel Mbele, known by his comrades as Dax, stood at attention. He was the lowest in rank, but his spirit, steady and fearless, set him apart. Every morning before sunrise, he polished his old rifle, whispering the same words his late father once told him. A man's uniform means nothing if his heart isn't clean. Those words would soon be tested. One grey morning, General Samuel Kato, the most feared and respected man in the camp, summoned Dax to his tent. The general's uniform gleamed with medals. His presence alone could silence a room. "Private Mbele," he said, "I've chosen you for a special mission. You will intercept a civilian convoy, moving supplies through the jungle. No reports, no witnesses. You understand?" Dax froze. He had heard rumors about raids that never made it to the books, about operations that served greed, not duty. He looked straight into the general's eyes and said quietly, "Sir, those are civilians. That's not a mission. That's murder." The tent fell silent. The general's eyes narrowed, his voice colder than steel. "You're not paid to think, soldier. You're paid to obey." But Dax stood firm. "With respect, sir, I can't obey an unlawful order." There was a long, deadly pause. Then the general smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hides venom. "Then you'll learn your lesson the hard way." The next morning, Dax's name disappeared from the base roster. He was reassigned to Sector 9, a deadly zone deep in the jungle, crawling with terrorists and cut off from reinforcements. They said no one lasted there more than a week. It was exile by another name. The days that followed were hell. Dax fought through blistering heat, endless ambushes, and sleepless nights surrounded by enemies. He built shelters out of broken crates, rationed muddy water, and learned to fight with nothing but grit and instinct. But through every battle, every wound, every hopeless moment, he refused to break. In time, his courage began to draw others. A handful of scattered soldiers who had given up hope started following him, listening to his orders, trusting his heart. He didn't lead them with rank. He led them with respect. Soon, they started winning. Small victories at first, then larger ones. They defended villages, rescued hostages, pushed back enemy lines. Dax, the forgotten private, had become the backbone of Sector 9. The jungle that was meant to bury him had become his kingdom. Months later, a helicopter landed at the outpost. High-ranking officers stepped out, expecting to find a graveyard, but instead they found a thriving unit under Dax's command. "You were sent here to survive," one officer said in disbelief, "but you built an army." For his bravery and discipline, Dax was promoted. He climbed the ranks fast, but never lost his humility. Still, he hadn't forgotten why he was sent there. As his access grew, Dax quietly gathered evidence: secret transmissions, falsified mission orders, stolen assets, all pointing to General Samuel's corruption. He had risked soldiers' lives for personal gain. When Dax returned to headquarters, he stood before a tribunal. The same man, once labeled disobedient, now facing the very system that betrayed him. He laid down the files, his voice calm but unshakable. "Justice isn't a privilege of rank," he said. "It's a duty, the duty of every soldier who wears this uniform." The court fell silent. The truth was undeniable, and for the first time, the mighty General Samuel had no words. His stars were stripped from his shoulders that day. Weeks later, Dax stood at the edge of the same jungle where his journey began. The air was still. The birds sang again, He looked up at the rising sun, the light breaking through the mist. "A man's uniform means nothing," he whispered, "if his heart isn't clean." He entered the jungle as a private, but left it as a leader. Because true strength isn't found in medals or ranks. It's found in the courage to do what's right, even when you stand alone.